What's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. It is April 24th. What a time it has been. I swear, the thing about doing these movie collection updates every 2 months, every single time I do one of these, I am always in a completely different stage of whatever is happening in my life. Since I've done the last one, it's been a time. It's been good. It's been bad. And it's just been flat out weird. And that's been the whole year of 2024 so far. So it is nice to finally just kick back, relax, check back in with all of you lovely people, yes, even you, and talk about some movies. And I do not pre-plan what movies I have to talk about. It's just kind of happen chance. Whatever I come across, whatever sounds interesting, whatever gets recommended to me. So it's just a hodgepodge. And the eclectic mix of movies I have today perfectly sums up the wild ride my life has been on. It's not as big of a list, so let's get right into it. I was very happy to find this used because I missed this and the third one when Scream Factory originally put these out years ago. But my used place had this, so I was very happy to come up with a Blu-ray copy of Psycho 2, which to me is one of the greatest sequels of all time. Written by Tom Holland, directed by Richard Franklin, starring the amazing Anthony Perkins. This is one of the best sequels ever made. The way they had the gargantuan task of following Psycho, doing a legacy sequel, 40 years before it was commonplace nowadays, and just the story, the drama, essentially turning Norman Bates into the protagonist. This is just, I don't think this needs much introduction. I saw the Psycho series when I was way too young. If you exclude the remake, it is the only series where I can say all four of them are pretty good. Yeah, Psycho 3, probably the weakest, but it's entertaining. It's just really weird. Psycho 4, the flashback stuff is hit or miss, but I really like the way 4 wraps up, and 2 obviously, so great stuff. Now, I wanted to get The Beekeeper for this update because I saw it in the theater twice and I loved it. But I ran out to the store yesterday and the place that I normally get my new releases from did not have The Beekeeper yet. So I said, well, I really don't want to wait on doing this update because I've got a lot of stuff coming up. So The Beekeeper will be in the next update. So, put that there. Because I was originally going to start this off with 2 Jason Statham movies. Because in the same shopping trip I got Psycho 2, I got Death Race. Which I had never seen this before, although I love Death Race 2000 with Sylvester Stallone and David Carradine. It's awesome. It's so crazy, so silly. This is my first time seeing this one, and this was pretty badass. I really enjoyed it. It is a total video game movie. It is a total just entertaining, turn your brain off action explosion extravaganza with Jason Statham and Tyrese Gibson. But I was so entertained. I had tons of fun. Paul W.S. Anderson, which I read a comment online where someone said this is more of a video game movie than any of the actual video game movies he made. And upon watching this, I could believe that. I'm not a huge gamer, but it's the style is all over this thing. And they made a ton of sequels to this too. Let me know if any of them are worth watching. I'm inclined to believe probably not, but this one was a trip. And this one was a total blind buy. I like Luke Evans, and I like these kind of confined location thrillers, so I thought, ooh, this sounds up my alley. It's this movie called 10 by 10. No, this one was terrible. This is a very grating kidnapping thriller that mostly goes nowhere until the third act, which goes so insane with its twist that it almost made the movie worth it. It's not a good movie, not at all. But the third act is so dumb and the twist is so dumb that it was almost worth it, but not really at all. I mean, I like Luke Evans, but yeah, no, not that one. And then this is a pre-order that just came in because this just looks so up my alley. Early 80s, just shenanigans, debauchery, and I love the packaging. That's another reason why I pre-ordered this. The MVD Rewind collection of Joysticks, which is made to look totally like an old school Atari game. Again, I'm not a gamer. I just think that's really cool. You get exactly what you get with this movie. You get an early 80s shenanigans sex romp that hilariously has Joe Don Baker in it. The movie itself is terrible. Like, there is nothing... I objectively cannot say anything good about the movie. It is terrible. But the vibe and just the shenanigans, it's entertaining as hell. So dumb. So dumb. You already know if you're the audience for this or not, so I don't think anything I could say can sway you one way or another. Just know it's terrible, but if you're a fan of the early 80s shenanigans sex comedies, it's terrible in all the ways that you would want it to be. And this one was actually a recommendation from my dad. He saw a little bit of this on TV, and he was like, oh, I only saw like 5 minutes, but it was really good. You got to get this movie. It's got Vin Diesel, Seth Green. So I'm like, Vin Diesel and Seth Green. Okay, that's an interesting combination. So I got Knockaround Guys, which at the end of the day was okay. It's nothing special. I wish it would have gone harder. I wish there would have been more action. It's a very, very Tarantino inspired story. Vin Diesel is the best character. Every single frame that he's in, he's holding a cigarette, which I think is funny. And he initiates a bar fight in probably the funniest way I've ever seen in a film. 500. And the discussion that ensues after that is just, it's fantastic. Seth Green is playing a typical Seth Green role. Dennis Hopper's, you can tell he filmed his scenes in a day. Like I said, it's okay. It's pretty good. I'm not upset that I saw it. But with the cast and with the plot, I wished it was a little more crazy, a little bit more action-packed. Like, I'm not a big fan of all these Tarantino wannabe, because I might have to give up my movie card for this, guys. I'm not a Tarantino fan. I don't like his movies. I don't like his style. Sue me. I don't care. But, it is what it is. And then Shout Factory was having a sale on their website. Bunch of Blu-rays for like $10. So I took advantage, got some 80s horror movies. Warning Sign, which I had heard good things about throughout the years. It almost has kind of a John Carpenter feel with the way it's filmed and kind of the lighting. It takes place at this remote science lab, all these colors. It has a very John Carpenter look. The movie itself is pretty decent. It is a little bit too much of a slow burn for me, though. I wish, because they're all confined in this, lab, and there's essentially a rage virus going around causing everyone to start attacking one another and killing one another. I was expecting more, and it's more slow burn than that plot might have you believe, but the characters and the actors, they do a really good job. I always love seeing Yaphet Kotto and stuff. He's in this. It's good, and it's stylistically, it's very well shot, very well directed. I like the music. I just wish the action was ramped up a little bit more. But now this one, this is the pick of the update right here. I adored this film, and I had never seen this before, but I had seen the cover. I knew this movie existed. I remember always seeing the DVD cover for it, because obviously it's based off of the famous painting of the same name, but I just never... I never investigated the movie just because I figured it would just be some, generic farm thing. And I never looked it up. I never really knew what the plot was. But I am so glad that I took the chance and I got this from the Shout Factory sale, because this has become probably one of my new favorite slasher films. I absolutely adored American Gothic, starring Hollywood royalty Rod Steiger and Yvonne DiCarlo, of all people, in this thing with Michael J. Pollard is in it too. This thing is zany as all hell. It is all over the place. You've got just the setup is so simple to get these people crash landed on this island, but the main protagonist has this overly tragic backstory, which only happened because she did something very, very, very stupid. And oh my God, the children, Fanny, Woody, Teddy, those are some of my new favorite slasher villains ever, especially Fanny, who's the character you see right there. That actress earned her pay for this. This was absolutely incredible. The kills are all just so wild and just goofy. This, more than almost any other movie I could think of, the way it's balanced between such pitch black humor and goofiness mixed with shit that is legitimately disturbing. And this movie goes places a lot of other 80s horrors didn't. So that was pretty interesting to see. And by the time, you're in the third act, you don't know where the hell this thing is going. Like, it is unpredictable, and it has a very unique spin on how the third act is done. So that was something. I wish they were able to get more special features for this, because all they have is the composer, which, but this was a blast. If you're a slasher movie fan, if you're 80s horror fan, and somehow you're like me and you just kept passing this one by, don't anymore, because this was a blast. Oh, but you thought that one was strange. Let me tell you, this was a recommendation from my good friend Dirk at the VHS Podcast. If you watch the last episode, you'll see that I did an episode with him on the movie Funny Man. Well, while we were talking, he also recommended, because we were talking about, kind of quirky movies and off-kilter movies, and he recommended this to me, which I had never heard of, but I knew from his description of it, I'm like, okay, well, it sounds pretty weird, and he told me almost nothing, because he said, you have to experience this yourself. So I said, okay. So I took the chance, and I dove in and watched Greener Grass. Without a doubt, one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. It's a satire about white picket fence, soccer mom suburbia, but it is just so bizarre. Like, seriously, this was a complete fever dream, and I watched this when I wasn't even sick. Like, the feeling of watching this movie, it's like you're sick as a dog, you just downed a cup of NyQuil before bed, you have a fever dream, but then you wake up and you're watching something on TV. Like, the entire time this movie was on, I felt like I was in a haze. Like, it was so strange. There's a kid that undergoes a certain transformation that has to be seen to be believed. Every single character has braces for no reason, which you could see some of the imagery to that on this disc right here, so hooray for that. And there's a reveal at the end. This thing is just, I don't know who the hell I can recommend this to, because quite frankly, I don't know who the hell this movie's for. Let me just say this, I was not bored watching it. I was not bored. And this one I got because it sounded interesting. It had an interesting premise, and I wanted to see Rainn Wilson in something different. So blindly, I picked up this movie called Don't Tell a Soul. And I will say Rainn Wilson is the best part of the movie. His character and his performance is actually really damn good. He alone is what kept me watching this. Everything besides Rainn Wilson in this is absolutely terrible. I thought this sucked. The two brothers... Sometimes it annoys me in movies. Not always, but some movies, because some can get away with it, but some can't, where characters just do stupid decisions and make the most irrational decisions just so we can have a movie. This might be the ultimate king of that, because the younger brother in this was an idiot, and the older brother was the most insufferable douchebag to such a cartoony level that I have ever seen put to film. Like I said, Rainn Wilson was good, his character was good, and there's a twist with his character that I would also say was good, but everything else about this was terrible. I did not. Yeah, if you're a Rainn Wilson completist, See it for him and his performance. Nothing else. Nothing else about that I can really recommend it. Now, this is one I am shocked I had never seen before now, because, I mean, growing up, I loved Austin Powers, and my dad, growing up, his favorite TV show of all time was Get Smart. Well, this was a film spin-off of Get Smart with Agent 86, Don Adams himself. So this is essentially like a Get Smart movie. And, you know, to my eyes, it plays off almost like an Austin Powers movie 40 years before the fact, because that's essentially almost what Get Smart was. The Nude Bomb. And I gotta say, yes, you notice I'm saying a lot of overlap here. As I said, these movies perfectly sum up where I've been in life the past 2 months. Again, is this movie stupid as all hell? Yes, but it is my kind of humor. It is my kind of stupid, and I had a blast. Because I would grow up watching stuff like that, like Get Smart and all that. I would grow up watching that kind of stuff with my dad. So seeing this late 70s, early 80s, dry, wacky, screwball antics like this, it just warms my heart. And I thought this was legitimately funny. A lot of the gags in it worked. It landed for me. I don't know if it will for you, but they landed for me. The ending is legitimately impressive with a certain effect they're able to pull off with a certain machine. And there's a catchy theme song to it too. So yeah, or even like if you like Inspector Gadget, well, you get, Don Adams is very Don Adams. It's hard for that not to be the case. So it's worth it for him too. I had a blast with this. I don't know what took me so long to get to it. And to get our Kevin Bacon movie the update out of the way here, we've got Trapped. Another recommendation from my dad, who caught this on TV, and he said, if you want to see a good Kevin Bacon movie, you should watch this. I had never heard of this before, but I like the cast. Kevin Bacon, Charlize Theron, and Courtney Love. I'm like, well, that's an interesting name. It's a kidnapping thriller, but it's actually really well done. Kevin Bacon is such a slime ball in this. Like, his character is such a creep. Kevin Bacon plays that perfectly, though. Like, when you need a good hero, Kevin Bacon works. When you need a really good creep, Kevin Bacon works. So this is great. And it's cool to see Charlize in kind of the lead and the heroine. And it's a pretty gripping movie. Like, it's suspenseful. Like, there's a lot of dread. There's a lot of really good atmosphere to it. It's a little hard to buy. Courtney Love is the villainous wife who, you question her morals, you question her background. But I was into this. The suspense drew me in. I really wanted to see where the story went. Even though the final act of this movie, and I believe this came first by a year, because this came out in 2002. This has an ending involving a highway pileup and a log truck. And this came out before Final Destination 2. So that's the only part of this that had me like, this is interesting. So, I don't know. Final Destination 2, I don't know what you're on, but this was a really good one. You like thrillers, you like suspense movies, you can deal with Kevin Bacon being a complete sleazebag. Check it out. It's a fun one. Okay, and now we're on to the DVDs. We've got 5 this time around, and this one, I should have known better. I took one look at the cover. I read one go through of the synopsis on the back. I looked at the pictures. I go, okay, this is going to be a bad movie. But is it going to be like a hidden gem, hilarious bad movie? Like the kind you would see on Red Letter Media, Best of the Worst. I'm like, is this going to be a really funny bad movie, or is this just going to be bad? And I could tell just by looking at this cover. It was going to be one of the two, nothing in between. Posers. Popularity is a bitch. It started funny, but oh my god, by the end, this was terrible. This was a complete piece of dog shit, and I regret buying it. Because, yeah, this was not good at all. It tries to be stylish. The characters the acting, it's so low budget. It's, the lesbian undertones are through the roof, and I don't even know. Yeah, this was dog shit. I cannot recommend that to anyone. this was dog shit. I knew it was going to be, I was hoping it would be funny. Like, I was hoping this would be like a bad movie gem. But no, this was just bad. Don't waste your time. Now, as I alluded to earlier, and in the last DVD update, I was on the VHS Podcast talking about Funny Man. Well, I have been invited back onto the VHS Podcast to talk about a different film. And this time around, it was a film I had never before seen or heard of. I was assigned. Yes, I was assigned to watch the movie from 1999 starring Jennifer Rubin, Roadkill. Now, what did I think of Roadkill? Wait another month or so for the VHS Podcast to air. You'll hear my thoughts then. So, consider this a teaser for you Jennifer Rubin fans. And these last three all came from last month when my dad and I went to the World of Wheels that was being held in Rosemont, Chicago. They had a vendor there selling all these bootleg movies. Like, every car-related movie you could think of, this guy had a bootleg of it. So I picked up 3. The first one I picked up, 1 for the Gary Busey collection, and 2 because it sounded interesting. I'm familiar with this one. Based off a true story with Jeff Bridges, we have The Last American Hero, which as far as a racing movie, semi-biopic goes about Junior Jackson. In this movie, he's Johnson, but in real life, he's Jackson. But no, great movie. Ned Beatty is in it, you know, the king of the 70s type. If Ned Beatty's in it, you know there's something funny to it. Jeff Bridges, like I said, Gary Busey. It's got a really good cast. And it's a really well done family drama story, you know, about the racing, all based on a true story. So this one's actually really good. These other 2 were blind buys. This one stars Richard Grieco. I love If Looks Could Kill. So I'm like, oh, maybe this will be another little hidden gem with Richard Grieco. Born to Run. It starts okay. It's very low budget, but it starts okay when it's about the racing, but it turns into a family crime story halfway in, and it just loses all of its appeal from there on out. So after that, there's really not too much with this to latch onto. So, not that great. And then this one, too, I'm like, oh, this is an 80s movie I've never seen. It just looks awesome from this cover. Maybe this will be, again, another hidden gem. Bonsai Runner. The movie itself is not good. There's nothing really that interesting about the movie, but the 80s vibe and the 80s just... There is so much wood paneling in this movie, you're not going to know what to do with it. So, I mean... It's not terrible, it's not posers, but I'm like, this is something I'm probably never going to watch again. You know, me and my dad, we just love car stuff, so especially car movies. So we were like, we'll take a chance on these, see what it's like. So, but of those 3, definitely give this one. If that's a subject matter that interests you, this one was actually really good. And all right, guys, that does it for April 24th, 2024. It's a lot of 4s in this video title. In 2.5 weeks, I'm actually leaving for Alaska. So it may be the next bit. Maybe you'll see some videos in between, but pretty soon you're going to have the big Alaska movie coming up, which I hope that's a good trip. You know, I do a vacation a year for myself. There's always a lot of pressure. Like, I hope it's good. Because I do them by myself. So I'm like, I hope it's good. I hope it's a worthwhile experience. So going to have Alaska coming up in May. So probably do the next update, probably late June. Probably the next one or early July. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed hearing about this very eclectic mix of films. And we will talk to you all later. Thank you.